We have an update. Activists are exposing extreme abuse, the use of solitary confinement in order to retaliate against human beings who deserve dignity and respect. Here it is.
I know you're grieving, but I want to tell you that your son was murdered. They sweep stuff underneath the rug all the time.
If you're an inmate in Alabama prison, you're probably praying every night that nothing bad happens to you. It's dangerous and volatile. It could explode at any moment.
I mean, it's corrupt. That's all you can say. That happens.
We're finished.
What are we finished with?
Tell me.
Why?
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Hold on a minute. Police in here.
Oh, okay.
Don't talk.
We have record numbers of people leaving out of here in body bags. They don't want the public to see what's really going on the inside.
How can a journalist go into a war zone but can't go into a prison in the United States of America? The state is settling one lawsuit after another. There's no consequences for their actions.
It's not the inmate that's killing them folks. It's for God.
Put up the documentary, Full Mass. I encourage everyone to see this. We're going to keep that picture up. I have a hell of a background story to relay. If you have been watching Indisputable long enough, you remember the days when I had to go to Alabama because pictures surfaced from others who were incarcerated and snuck a phone in to take pictures of people who were dying, and the staff did not give a damn. Journalists were told they could not enter. I was able to navigate with Benny Crump, Eric Daniels, and a few others. We were able to get people out of that prison during that time. The saga continues, but probably even more egregious. The Alabama prison system has moved 3 well-known incarcerated activists who supported a 2022 prison strike and were featured in an Oscar-nominated documentary about the troubled system, to isolated cells with little contact or no contact with anyone else. Family members and attorneys have gone on record. Family members of the 3 men said they fear for their loved ones' safety and are concerned the moves to solitary confinement are a form of retaliation for them being outspoken about problems within the prison system. Robert Earl Council, Melvin Ray, Raoul Poole were transferred 2 weeks ago from their existing prisons to solitary confinement, punishment, at the Kilby Correctional Facility. This is outside of Montgomery. The transfers come as some groups have encouraged a new prison labor strike this year. I want you to understand what a prison strike is, because some people compare it to a riot or violence. It is not. They are striking from forced labor. Yeah, they're striking from working for pennies per hour. They're willing to go back if you treat them with respect, but that's what they're striking. There's more. Quote, "This is straight up retaliation," said Julie Sled, who is close to Mr. Poole and spoke to the AP about the situation. Quote, "They've all 3 been very involved in standing up for the rights of incarcerated citizens. end quote. Council, Ray, and Poole were featured in the Alabama Solution. It's a documentary about the state prison system that relied heavily on cell phone footage from the incarcerated. The film has been nominated for an Academy Award in the documentary category. Sled says she had been able to talk to Poole once since the transfer. And he told her the men are being held in separate cells on an isolated and closely guarded floor. Jordan, put them back up. Those brothers are in prison. They're smiling. They're actual leaders. People respect them. And they deserve to be treated with dignity. Now, they're being punished for one reason, because they're right, because they're exposing corruption, neglect, and the evils that are being done. Quote, since their arrival, the men have been cut off from contact with their families, something they did years ago when we were there. They're being held in isolation with no contact with others, not even staff, except for a small group of guards and supervisors. It's called a controlled management protocol. Lawyers representing the three men said in a statement, the attorney said the prison system did not provide a reason for the move and said the restrictions, quote, far exceed standard administrative segregation protocols. Why do you think they're going this far and being this outspoken? The prison system, typically they would try to hide, mitigate, give you some PR, try to tell you it's not what it seems. No PR strategy, because the only entity that could regulate them or govern them is the Department of Justice. And the DOJ basically co-signs this madness. There's more. The Alabama Department of Corrections cited security concerns as the reason the men were moved, but did not elaborate. They're not gangbangers. They're not violent. They're not leading riots. They are leading rights. The transfer of inmates, quote, the transfer of inmates is based on intelligence that they are engaged in activity that is detrimental to the safety and security of the facility and the public, end quote. Prison officials said in a statement emailed by a spokesperson, Kelly Betts. The statement added that, quote, all inmates are safe, secure, and receiving regular meals and other services as needed, end quote. And they have had legal visits and phone service. Ernestine Council said on Wednesday that she had received very little information about her son and had not been able to speak with him directly. And Brooks, Ray's mother, said she had not been able to reach her son, although he was able to make one call to his brother. Quote, I don't know what is going to happen or what could happen, Brooks said. The moves come as some have pushed for a new prison labor strike this year. They did one in 2022. It got national attention, rightfully so. I supported it. Thousands of Alabama inmate workers went on strike that year, refusing to work in prison kitchens, laundries, factories, protesting against the conditions in the state lockups. Multiple inmates told the AP that prisons had recently reduced the amount of food and other items they can buy each week at the prison commissary, a move that could prevent items from being stockpiled ahead of a potential strike. They're limiting how much they can eat in order to punish them for even considering engaging in not being forced to labor for somebody else. The prison system said in a statement that food service had been contracted out to a new vendor, Aramark, but did not elaborate. Quote, we're really concerned because they've had retaliation and abuse in response to all their activism, end quote, said Andrew Jerichi, director of the Alabama Solution. Quote, it's particularly ironic that these men who are incredibly brave and frankly scholars and have learned the law and have been leaders and always observe nonviolent means to protest are always met with violence by authorities. Put it up. We've long covered the various abuse individuals have suffered in the Alabama prison system. I've worked with Senator John Ossoff on this very matter, including the story of Mr. Antonio Barnett Smith. Also, there's another brother named Mr. Vaughn. The brother you're looking at had cancer, passed away after being released on medical furlough. Passed away after being released on medical furlough, and his family is claiming he was medically neglected while there. We've done various exclusive regarding the atrocities that have taken place there. They have gotten worse. We brought this to the attention of lawyers, U.S. senators. And now that you have an administration that doesn't give a damn, you have a feckless Congress. I'm not talking about the Republicans only. I wonder, are we putting together some dots here? Because if we're not careful, we will think that ICE came out of nowhere. I'm going to connect it. We'll think that ICE is this anomaly, rogue. But have we considered that if we treated Black folk and brown folk, historically marginalized individuals, if we treated them with dignity, respect, fairness, and gave them equitable opportunity in our justice system, do you think we get an ICE today if we had a justice system that provided justice? ICE is an evolution in a de-evolution of a system normality known as the criminal justice complex. Yeah, it's awesome.
Yeah, we have a huge problem in this country when it comes to incarceration. And you can take that just as a general statement in the sense that we already incarcerate so many people. And then there's the bail system, and then there's the for-profit prison system, and then you have police brutality and police protectionism, et cetera. But we've got a huge problem outside of all of that, and that we lock people up for a certain amount of time as if that in and of itself is supposed to make society better. And what we see so often is that it does not make society better, and it does not help the people who are on the inside, especially once they're back out on the outside. So yeah, like some people are too dangerous and have already been too destructive to continue to exist freely in society. But if you approach the prison system in the interest of bettering the individuals who found themselves there, in the interest of preventing recidivism, rehabilitation versus punishment, that costs a lot of money and it costs a lot of effort and a lot of deliberation. You have to be very deliberate in the way that you treat people who have been convicted of crimes or people who you suspect of crimes. And to do all of that, you would have to reform the entire prison system, and you'd have to reform all of policing, and you would have to reform even parts of the justice system. And then you would have to put adequate money and resources into the prison system to help these inmates. And then you'd have to launch an entire political PR campaign to convince the public that these inmates are worth putting money into. But even without doing any of that, we can at least feed people, right? We can at least treat them like they're human beings. What we're seeing here is a cultural issue. The idea that we feel as though these people have done something wrong. We don't even know what wrong they've all done, but they are lesser than, and they deserve to be treated as lesser than. And then you have the issue with the cops who have been given this permission to treat people as if they're lesser than, to scare people, to basically do whatever they want to these people. And they know that they'll be protected by the higher powers. They know that there's very little that can be done to them. And so what happens is you cultivate this environment of extreme power disparity to the point where it starts to look something akin to slavery, where you're having people, especially Black and brown people, who are being imprisoned in this system, who are being made to labor without really getting paid anything. If they are getting paid anything, it's really, really negligible, to the point that it may as well be nothing. And you have this power dynamic that exists within a vacuum, within this very tight ecosystem, in a world that people on the outside rarely get to see inside of. And then whenever you hear these whistleblowers, these stories that finally make it out to the public, then it becomes a big issue. And then you get in there and you see how bad it has already been, and how long it's been allowed to fester, and how all the people from the prison guards all the way up to the top have known about this and have let this issue continue on. So if you want to talk about racism, we're seeing that here. If you want to talk about classism, we are seeing that here. All of these issues are things that are part of the rot of this country that we are constantly trying to, let it breathe a little bit, get it out so we can deal with it. But so much of this country is still not ready to have those conversations. So, but we'll keep having these conversations on shows like this one, Doc.
Well said. Absolutely right. Jordan, put up the heroes one more time. I want to remind everyone that if you are a lover of people and you care about advocating for the rights of others, you are the same as they are. Those brothers are the same as me, and we are the same as you. These courageous men are civil rights leaders in a different context, in a context that the vast majority of us would be terrified of living in. But they are civil rights leaders in prison. Brothers, if there's anything I can do, please contact Indisputable. We'll bring you updates as to